Hurry! Hey, Facebook! Look at this. On the fly, the guest is coming in right now, has no idea what we're going to talk about. Beautiful. I love it. It's how real life works. Welcome to the Whine No Whine Show. The only show where you can be friended and offended all in the same hour. It's beautiful. America, we have a problem. We have lost the ability to disagree civilly. Anybody that was around for the last election knows what I'm talking about. I call this the zero to Nazi effect. It is the length of time it takes in any given conversation where there's a disagreement, especially on social media, to go from 0 to you're a Nazi. I will now punch you in the face and go outside and set fire to your car. It's an issue, and we're fixing it right here on the Whine No Whine Show. It all starts... I lost the bottle. The bottle is gone! Help me, Jesus. There we go. I was in a panic attack, could you tell? We are having a great bottle of wine today. It's a Pinot Grigio.
That sounds right. That sounds super right.
My favorite.
Yeah. A Pinot Grigio, all the way from Italy.
Italia.
Italia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Italia. A Pinot Grigio from Italia. This wine comes from the northwest region of Venice. Friuli region, to be very snooty. And the Pinot Grigio has become immensely popular around the world, especially in the United States. It's a great wine to have as an aperitif. I love that word. It sounds so arrogant.
I love prestigious words.
I would talk to you, but I'm drinking my aperitif. So, you know. Anyway. Italian wine, we're going to enjoy this on the show today. We're going to drink it together. We're going to share a great glass. At the end of the show, we're going to rate the wine. So you're going to need to tune in to the Instagram channel where you'll find a picture of this wine after today's show and a rating from the guest and information about the wine. So it's called Vandori. That's the name of the wine. That's what we're going to be drinking. So today's show is going to be all about the tax cuts.
Yay.
I looked at her like it was her fault, but I was really just cueing her into what the subject was because she literally had no idea until I just said it then.
And then when you said that, I was like, that's interesting because I don't feel like it's a tax cut for me.
See, there we go. This is why we talk about these subjects, because everybody has their own take on the subject.
You've had 2 days to enjoy it, and you're not enjoying it?
So, everybody chime in with your thoughts. The new tax cut. Is it a good thing for America? Is it a bad thing? You love it? You hate it? Give us some specifics. What's your thoughts on it? Because we're going to respond to those thoughts and bring that comment into the show. And that makes you a part of the show just as much as the guests that are here today, except you don't get to drink this awesome wine. So I'm going to start pouring some wine while you guys comment on that. And we're going to let our guests introduce themselves because part of the exorbitant pay package that we have here on the show is shameless plugs.
It is
exorbitant. Yes, yes.
I should have brought another painting.
Crazy.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
Whoops.
Didn't even think about it.
I like this Fifth Element carafe we have here.
Yeah. It's very sexy.
It's pretty liquid.
I had one.
Sing like the diva.
That would be pretty awesome.
I don't actually sing like that, but I sing it.
I actually do love that song. It's pretty amazing.
It is.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, I had one of these, and with great finesse, style, and charm, I slaughtered it along with 3 glasses, all in one fell swoop.
I also noticed we're all in shades of blue today.
Yeah.
Wow, this is kind of cool. So cheers, everybody, to a good show, good discussion, that sort of thing.
And I'd like to, can I cheers Ashley in the back? Even though
Yes.
she's drinking a drink, just not alcoholic.
Ashley and Alex, behind the scene. Alex, what is the name of your production company?
Become Alex.
Become Alex. So if you guys
Is that like
need...
being John Malkovich?
Right, it's almost exactly the same thing. I think they may have stole it from him. So, yeah, there could be a lawsuit. Right, yeah, exactly. So, anyway, I wanted to give Alex a shameless plug behind the scenes for helping out with the camera work today. So kudos to Alex behind the scenes.
Thanks, Alex.
And my child labor staff that I have and my daughter. Thanks for being a part of the show. All right, so you guys chime in with that.
Help her.
Right, right. We're going to give introductions around the room. Let us know who you are. Give your shameless plug. And then we'll just loop right back around and get a bullet point thought on where you stand on the tax cut, good, bad, or otherwise. So, He pointed at you. So
Shameless plug introduction.
shameless plug introduction, and then we'll work our way back
All right. I am Scott Apley. I'm almost a regular now. I'm getting to that point, almost a regular.
This is your fourth show?
Third.
Third.
And the other 2 times, if you remember, I didn't have a shameless plug.
Right.
So, but this time,
He brought props.
enter. Shameless plug. There. We have a link. my good friend, Mandy Yates.
Well played, sir. Well played.
My good friend Mandy Yates has a business where she makes garden decorations, and if you go there, that's one that I had her custom make for me. She does custom ones. You can send her a picture and have it made into a garden stone type thing. It's called the Stone Butterfly. She's a dear friend of mine. Does incredible work and takes quite a lot of detail on that. So that's my shameless plug, and I came prepared.
Yes!
That is awesome.
Nice.
That is actually very cool.
Nice to meet you, Scott.
You as well.
Yes. Well
You'll
met,
get my
sir.
name in a minute. So we really don't know each other.
Well met, sir. All right. Aaron.
I'm Aaron Simmons. I own Air Geeks of Texas, best AC company in Houston area.
We can use some AC in this room right now.
Yeah.
I tell you what.
Some favor?
Yeah, this is good. This is a good application for a mini split.
This whole building just stinks. I mean, I no joke. I come prepared for pretty much anything because I've been in this building when it was 60 degrees outside and the AC's blowing in my office. It's just totally screwy. So it needs serious help. My daughter is signaling, "Where's the fan?" It's in Troy's office. So if you would like to get a fan and point it in this room, that would be amazing. That would be amazing because it's hot. You can probably see the glistening forehead here going on.
Does that mean we're full of hot air?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mostly.
Probably a good sign there. So, Air Geeks.
Air Geeks of Texas.
Air Geeks of Texas. Yeah,
Find
that's
us on
cool.
Facebook.
The only place where you still need AC work
In December.
in this time of year, December, right?
Right.
I mean, you're still probably running your AC. So,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right.
I'm Rachel Blomstrom.
Rachel.
Yes, hi.
Rachel.
I'm Rachel.
Rachel.
I did the artist edition, and it was basically me arguing with 4 people. So
It was pretty awesome.
I think it proved I could hold my own for the main
Yes,
show.
I was very impressed.
Thank you.
And so she has a rare claim to fame in that she is one of less than a handful people who have actually transitioned to both shows. So, been on the artist show.
Oh, both
and
shows.
for-
I was
yeah.
waiting for a transition to something else.
Were you getting ready to disqualify me
was
from
an
something?
earlier-
No, but I thought that was going to be the topic of next week.
That was the Jenner talk.
Yeah. How many shows have you transitioned? So, anyway,
I'm pretty good at segues. Does that count?
right.
Okay.
Like a mall cop.
Like
Yes.
little thing
Very
you
good at
lean
segues.
on?
Sure.
That thing?
Yeah.
Well, I think I pinned my website in there, but I'm not sure. But
you?
you can go to rachelblomstrom.com. I think I might have just done it on my page. I'll have to fix it in a minute.
Okay.
But if you look, you can just see how to spell my name. I'm tagged in there, and it's just rachelblomstrom.com. I write. I'm an artist. I am applying for a reporter job that's kind of debatey. So I don't want to reveal where it's at, but it'll be cool if I get it. But yeah, I just kind of work in all sorts of arts and entertainment, and I do creative consulting. So if you need that, I'm here for you.
There you go. She's tagged in the main feed or main heading of the show, so you can find her there. And does really cool artwork. She brought some neat stuff to the other show. And I have some of her art displayed in my office. So there you go.
Cool.
Also,
Yeah, and as soon as that comes up, it'll show. Yeah, I think it looks about right. Just .com. Yeah. And as soon as that, no problem. As soon as that comes up, there'll be a little thumbnail picture.
yes, except he didn't put the www, so it didn't give the thumbnail. But you're fine. The link is there. You're good to go.
Thank you.
Pin the comment though. Pin it so you can.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you.
Right now, Alex is performing 2 jobs behind the scene because my daughter is frantically running around trying to find a power cord to point a fan in the studio because it's blazing hot in here.
The fan that's pointed at our feet.
Yeah. Well, at least it'll be blowing some air in here. So
Yeah, I got dressed nice. Like I got progressively less carry by the bottom, and so I'm wearing flip flops.
that's a fashion term. Progressively less carry.
Yeah, that's pretty much my general aesthetic.
Yeah, there you go. So
Okay, my name is Ed Kampf. I'm on next week's show. So I'm viewing this as just practice. So if I screw up, it's okay.
He's amateur in it this
I'm a
one.
fill-in. I'm not a regular, but I'm a regular sarcastic commentator on it.
Yes, you're a regular sarcastic feed commenter. A feed troll for the show.
But
loves to give me grief during the show.
my goal is to make Joe laugh.
Mainly troll me.
Just to make him laugh. If I can make him laugh and say something not too self-incriminating, then that's my goal.
There you go.
I don't have a shameless plug, but I would like to wish everybody a happy, healthy holiday season, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy New Year, and that's it. And don't screw it up, and don't fight at family reunions and gatherings.
That's so much sweeter than us talking about ourselves.
I just made them all look foolish.
Where else did you play that out?
But I usually make myself look foolish. But anyway, happy to be here and drink this wine.
Yeah.
I'm ready to rate it.
Yeah, well, I tend to chug white wine. I should have warned you.
It's Pinot Grigio. It's easy to...
Right? Yeah.
I sip red wine, but I'll...
That's why it's so hot in here. We're having a Pinot.
Yeah.
Super good when it's hot, right?
Yeah. No, we gotta get that done fast.
August wine, right?
I don't know if you know, science, they recently developed a... Wow, that's actually pretty nice.
I'm gonna get my
I
hair
found
on
my
in it.
calling.
Right. Holding the fan up, yeah.
My hair is breezing, but sorry about your luck.
Well, I got built-in AC, so we're
This
good.
is for your safety.
Yeah.
Unencumbered heat.
This is science recently. I don't know if you guys have heard about this new Pinot.
I can ask
Science recently came up with an anti-diuretic wine that allows you not to have to urinate when you're drinking the wine, and they call it a Pinot Noir.
Oh, that was good.
Yes. That's cringeworthy. I know. Well, look, we want to thank you guys for tuning into the show. We're talking about the whole tax situation, the tax cut, whether it's...
I'm oscillating.
Ed is oscillating right now. That's beautiful. That is beautiful. I actually think it has an oscillate, doesn't it? I could be wrong. I think it's got an oscillate.
does.
Yeah.
It has an on switch on the bottom.
Oh, okay.
Look at that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Together
There
we
you go.
can work
There we go.
off
There we go. Technology stealing more jobs.
There you go. I've been replaced by a robot.
All right,
And
we're
another
talking
job
about the
taken.
taxes.
Yeah.
We're talking about the taxes, the tax cut. Is it good? Is it bad? What's your thoughts on this? They cut the corporate tax rate. They cut the corporate tax rate from 39.5%, I believe, 39.3%, something like that. They cut it down to 21%. Is that a good thing? Is it stupid? Is it crazy? Is it awesome? Is it fantastic? What are your thoughts on this?
I could also be incorrect, but I heard that they cut taxes from overseas sales.
I do not know.
I heard
Overseas
that.
sales.
Yeah, so
That's an
basically, yeah.
We have some good
well,
Googlers that chime in every now and then. So we can
Yeah,
look that up.
I wanted that verified because my father had brought it up from an article he read, but I didn't get around to verifying it. But also, it was really exciting because after their first run through, they had forgotten to take something out which had raised the incoming taxes, and then they figured it out before they ran it through the Senate, and also they just got rid of it instead. So I wanted that. If anybody can verify that, Wally, I see you're here. Thanks for.
Wally said she loves to tell me I'm wrong. When she puts the I in,
No.
she'll say it.
Yeah,
Let's see.
no.
Oh,
no.
is there an extra L?
Yeah, it just says Rachel Blomstrom.
Ah,
not Rachel.
Rachie. So edit that, Ash. Edit that pinned comment and change it from Rachel Blomstrom to Rachel Blomstrom. So that's why we only let Alex touch the pictures.
It's actually
okay.
Rosh.
Yeah,
Roche.
Yeah.
It's Roche. Yeah, Roche.
Raish.
Roche.
Rahe, if it's German.
Yeah.
Well, the tax code also cut your name, so...
Yeah, oh man, I can't even afford all the letters now.
But anyway,
Getting back on target here. Is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? Let's get a bullet point thought and work our way around, and then we'll...
I laugh at the, and I'll use this expression with so much fondness, the libtards
Oh my gosh.
opposed to a tax cut, because it's not a tax cut. It's what are taxes? Taxes are money that's taken away from you. It's giving you your money back. Let's create a better description of what that tax cut is. You can keep more of your income. Why is a tax cut used so negatively by the forces that are opposed to it? And by the way, why were not one Democrat in support of this? Because
they weren't even consulted.
No, because they knew it would benefit
Let's wait for disagreement and let's get a bullet point thought.
It would wait for they knew that it would benefit the American public, and that's why they were opposed to it. That's why they were vehemently opposed to it. Lock and step. This is going to help everybody.
So we will oppose opposing views to this and work our way around.
Well, but they view this as very damaging and never thought that it would pass. And that's why they didn't.
Okay, so hang on.
I just want to ask a question.
Well,
We're going to need more wine.
Yeah.
Right.
I just have a question, though. Like, do we present our side, or do we present our side and what we think the other side is? Because that's what just happened there.
Right.
He's speaking for the other side
The
on what
obvious
we.
side.
The obvious. Well, because I don't agree with what you said, and on the other side.
So this is bullet point. Yes.
Yeah, me versus 4 guys again. Sure.
So this is bullet point
back in college.
thought.
You're not getting here, lady.
I was in the Navy.
That's so inappropriate.
I was in the Navy.
Oh wow!
I can handle you guys.
He's digging the hole. You, sir, put the shovel down. Step away from the shovel.
She said Navy.
You, sir, with the hole.
Regulated by the FCC.
Yeah.
No, they don't regulate anything anymore.
That was net neutrality.
Yeah, that was net neutrality.
Okay, so bullet point the thought, and if you want to say what your thought is of the other side in that bullet point, let's roll with that. But
so
try to keep it to a minute or so, though.
Yes, sir. For me, what I think the biggest problem is we don't know a lot of what's in this bill, but the things that have been bullet pointed to us is most of the tax cuts are going to rich people, and if you look back in one of our most prosperous eras, in one of the most prosperous eras in this country, in the 1950s, corporations were being taxed under Eisenhower 90%, and they were still super rich, and the rest of the country had money to buy goods and services. And I think when you start depriving people of some of these social safety nets, and they can't afford anything, then you're really going to make poor people even poorer. I mean, Ford company did it first. They realized all of their employees didn't get paid enough. They couldn't buy cars. So what did they do? They paid their employees more money, and then everybody could buy a car, and thus the automotive boom began. So I think, and we've seen it historically, these kind of trickle-down things where we're helping the top and expecting them to help the bottom, it just doesn't happen. When we actually help the bottom, then the bottom is helped.
That's untrue.
Okay, wait.
History untrue.
Hang on.
That's my bullet point. My bullet point is...
Yes, I was going to say. So
my bullet point is, I think this is a very detrimental thing to do to this country, because we're already stripping poor people, and it's just happening more and more, and we're supposed to trust these cronies in Washington. And I think as Texans, we all have a little bit of distrust for very large government. So while I am liberal, I also have some distrust of a very large
small government. Liberal?
Well, libertarians were originally liberal. The Tea Party's kind of ruined that, but that's a side note. We can discuss the history of government
that damn
another day.
patriotic Tea Party. How dare they?
Yeah.
All right.
How dare they?
So, bullet point thought. We have plenty of time to argue and debate. Lovely thing. So, bullet point thought, where you stand on this?
I don't think that you made several comments there. One of which was that the poor people would get poorer. That the people on top don't help them. Won't help them. It's not really their job to help them. It's not. It's not what our tax money goes to. It's not what it's for. I'm a business owner. I own a business, and my taxes that I pay, I don't want to go to people who want free college, don't want free health care. I work for mine. You can work for yours too, just like everybody else. And it's not about education opportunities, because we all get the same opportunity.
Bring out a flip
next
chart.
Bullet point isn't bullet related.
Yeah.
She's
I'm just trying not to interrupt.
She's taking notes.
Yeah.
Wow.
She came equipped.
This is a show first. We have a guest that is actually going to take notes.
Right.
That's cool. Whatever works, Yeah.
Nope.
All right. Oh no. Yeah. Okay.
Point?
Yeah. Bullet point. Yeah.
Well, I have to agree with Rachel to some degree.
To some degree.
I'm kind of disappointed in the tax cut that it didn't go far enough. That's my disappointment. So There's a lot of good things in there that they talked about doing, getting rid of some deductions, getting rid of some things. So I hope that it's a bridge to further tax reform where more and more people, and from top to bottom, it would work from top to bottom. People would be able to keep more of their money. They would be able to use that money to stimulate the economy, and that's the way that it works. When businesses, here's a bullet point on the business side. The more money that businesses has, it never just sits in a tub on the side of the road. Whether it's invested in the stock market, that creates jobs, that creates economic
Cancel road trip.
Whether they hire people, that create, everything that happens, if you want to talk about the trickle-down idea, that's absolutely a valid point. The I-pencil phenomenon, if you will. And then the last thing is that we need to definitely keep
We're back, and we're debating the whole topic of taxes and whether the tax cut was good. Let's see. Jeanette said, actually, I'm here for Rachel.
Oh, hi.
Yay.
Hi, Jeanette.
So we're back. David Craig. David is going to be very much on your side.
Oh.
I've debated with him throughout the day.
That's not happened for me yet.
At least
David,
live. Right. So David is going to jump in, I'm certain, and chime in with his thoughts. But anyway, we're talking about the tax cuts, where they're good for America, that sort of thing. We've already given our bullet point ideas. Hopefully some of you guys will make it back to be able to comment on it as we're going here. I would have loved to have been able to address the comments from the other feed.
We'll probably still do that. But if we want to pick up where we left off, I did take notes. Oh, here's all those. Oh,
okay. So real quick, I'm gonna give shout outs. I'm gonna fly through these because we probably lost a lot of these folks already. Ashley Bradley. Hopefully you're gonna be able to find us again, Ashley, and because she's a regular voice on the show. She lives out of state. Okay, awesome. And so she's either in Ohio or somewhere up there, Illinois. I always forget. Anyway, she's
used to it messing up, so she knows.
Right. So hopefully she'll be back and chiming in. So thanks for chiming in, David Craig. David said the tax cuts are expected to increase the national debt by $1.5 trillion over the next decade. Not good. Okay.
Okay. We had $10 billion increase the last decade.
I was just going to say, this is a fun jab. If it only increased the deficit by 1.5, that would be a vast improvement over the massive tripling of the national debt that's occurred in the last 8 years. So if it only went up 1.5, we'd be freaking awesome. However, what's probably going to happen is that same massive tripling of the debt is going to have another $1.5 trillion tacked on top of it.
Isn't it a step forward that Democrats are actually interested in the debt now where they haven't been in the last 8 years?
That's because their guy was in.
That's right. They weren't.
I don't disagree that the Democrats weren't in. And by the way, I'm not a Democrat, but I don't agree that the national debt has not been a concern for everybody. I mean, why wouldn't it be? Can you quote a single person who said, you know what, I really don't care about the national debt? I'd like to hear somebody say that.
I don't think David would go as far, David Craig on the feed here would go as far to argue that the debt is a good thing, but he presented the idea that our government can work perfectly fine with lots of debt earlier today. So, David, feel free to chime in. Is our debt a problem at all? I mean, do you think it's a problem at all? Because I know earlier today you had mentioned that we can operate just fine with debt.
Yeah. And also he mentioned, so there's two comments about small business owners. And my father's an entrepreneur, and I learned about running business from him. And so I also take that very seriously. You had brought that up, and you said, I make mine, everybody should work. And the thing is, I feel like you are going to get screwed on this tax bill. Wally says, never mind, I can't find what he said, but he says a keyword, corporate tax rate was cut, not small business, and that's true. Yeah. So you are also I'm also concerned about you as well as everyone. You're not one of the highly rich. I'm assuming if you're a small business owner,
I am.
This is going to hurt you. This isn't helpful to your cause either. I would like to see.
So let me ask you a quick question.
That is totally wrong.
Let me ask you a question. A small S corp.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I wanted to ask a quick question. David and you both are presenting this idea. that it's a corporate tax cut, not a small business tax cut. And I want to know how you, I guess how you're saying that, one, because I'm a small business owner in presently 3 different businesses, and we're all corporations. We all,
right. But
we're all
S corp. That's
your
not
fault,
large.
Joe.
It's a different. It's a different
I know there's,
classification.
believe me, I know the
He
different
works
corporations.
when he gets out of his
Right,
jet.
right. And this isn't reflect. That is not going to small businesses. What the tax cut's going to the larger businesses.
Yes.
That's where the cuts are going.
And excuse me, but do you know that the 10 top corporations in Houston employ 750,000 people? So when you say it's not going to, it's only benefiting the corporate, they have 750,000 employees who are either going to be paid more or they're going to increase hiring.
Right.
So to think that it's not going to trickle down to small businesses like yours and mine is just, it's a hollow sound bite with
but
nothing that
it's
supports
been
it.
proven throughout history.
No, it hasn't.
Like, it's never ever trickled down.
It
Reaganomics made, like, the living wage in this country has just disappeared. I mean, on the bottom, the problem is we don't have to have social programs if we'll pay people what they're working for. I really like what England has done in putting like some sort of percentage, like the lowest percentage worker and the highest paid worker can only be a certain percentage apart. So that way, if a company starts making more money, then everybody starts making more money because literally everybody in the company is working. And that's how it should work. It should not only benefit...
Do you believe in the Robin Hood effect?
Do you want to explain the Robin Hood effect?
You know, taken from the rich, giving to the poor.
I think that you are simplifying a bigger issue. When you're constantly regulating poor people's money, but you're not regulating rich people's money, I think you're acting like rich people are doing more, or they're somehow better people just because they have more money, and so we should look out for them and revere them and protect. But historically under Republicans, they've been taxed the most. So if you're a conservative, you should not be for unregulated pay going to these people who aren't doing millions times more work than the lowest worker in their company. They're just not.
The Robin Hood effect that we've been taught as little kids is one person taking from the rich, which is the king, and giving it to the poor. But the reality of that was he was taken from the government and giving the money back to the people who they stole it from.
Uh-huh.
Now, the thing about there not being a precedent about lowering taxes and increasing revenue, that is just plain wrong. That is plain wrong on any economic scale. And what we've seen the last 2 days are how many companies have given bonuses or talked about hiring. So it's
Increasing the
working
minimum wage.
already. It's working already, which helps your dad's business and your business and my business. The unemployment rate, look what the stock market has done in response. Now, the stock market is perception. It's not reality of how the economy is running. But just the perception. The University of Michigan's consumer confidence is at an all-time high. Why is this country feeling a boom of business? It's because of what's happening in corporations. They hire more than small business owners
In
like
2
us.
days, with this bill not actually being in effect, you cannot claim that anything that is happening right now is due to that.
Comcast,
it's not even in
AT&T,
effect yet.
Fifth Third, they're all
by the
coming
way,
out.
Apple came out and said yes, they have been throttling old iPhones. If you want to talk about something that a corporation did bring up.
Okay, that's changing the subject. But the bottom line is, this is an economic...
Well, no, what I'm saying is that you're talking about what people are saying in the past 2 days that literally has no effect on what is like statistically relevant at this moment.
What's statistically relevant are the trillions of dollars that corporations have had to put overseas. And the fact that I can build, before this tax plan, I can build my company and give it to my son, and then he's going to have a heck of a penalty to pay the government. That's gone. There have been Star Furniture, for example. The owners of Star Furniture sold their company based on the past tax, the inheritance tax that was under Obama and Clinton and Bush. It wasn't a Republican or Democrat thing. It was the past establishment. He had to sell it to avoid the tax penalty and not keeping a business within a family. Now that's different, and it hasn't panned out yet.
How?
So, what do you mean, how?
You said it now, it's different.
Well, the inheritance tax is different, but we're going to see money coming back into this country.
How? when they literally stopped taxing them for working overseas. There's no tax on that anymore. They removed it.
He's talking
so now
about,
jobs are going to move overseas. There's an incentive.
Where did that come from?
He's talking about
manufacturing.
family-owned companies.
There were 40,000 manufacturing jobs this year added. There hasn't been one manufacturing job added in this country in the last 20 years. And in the last 8 months, there have been 40,000 added. That didn't come from anything other than confidence in our country finally being headed in the right direction, putting America first. That might offend a lot of people, but the people that are barking the loudest are the ones who aren't affected. You know why? They pay the least. 90% of taxes are paid by the top, what percent?
That's not true.
1%.
That is absolutely not
That is
true.
absolutely
Can we get,
I
can
can
we
tell
get
you
that fact checked?
Yeah,
that is
I-
absolutely
Can I
not
say
true.
something?
I can
was
tell
in
you the
I was
exact
in-
percentage.
I was
The
in
top 1% have pay 39.5% of all taxes in America. The top 10% pay 90% of all taxes.
I've seen more tax returns than anybody in here because I was in the mortgage business for 20 years. I saw people write $750,000 checks to the IRS to cover
My
their
uncle's
taxes
been
for a
a
year.
CPA for 70
So-
years, and he laid out how much, like he put it on his website. I hope he tunes in so he can put those numbers for you. So what he did is basically he did taxes for hypothetical people based in each income bracket.
It's a good word.
Huh?
Hypothetical is a good word here.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, like if you.
That's all they have in their arguments.
I know.
No, but I mean,
Okay,
that's,
so-
I mean, that's
so
what you. That's how
for
you
everybody in the
have to
room,
Nothing
let's-
reality-based or fact-based.
This is
No, it is. It is
too many
because
moving
you.
parts.
Okay, so I'm gonna step in and play host. Hang on, I'm gonna step in and play host here for a
Too many
second.
moving parts to talk
Listen.
about hypotheticals.
Meme contest.
Guys,
Meme
give me a
off.
second. Playing host here for a second. It's very easy to get this passionate subject, and there are big dynamic personalities in the room. That's really fantastic. Let's focus on making a single point and then responding to it instead of talking over each other because it translates to craziness for the audience watching. Okay, Scott, you've been quiet over there for a minute.
One additional point going back to the what percentage of people pay what percentage of the taxes, and it's an old stat that I use, so it's from several years ago, I think possibly 2012, but ExxonMobil paid more in income taxes than the entire bottom 50% of individual taxpayer filers. One company had to pay more than half of the country of individuals. And how could we see that and ever say that these companies need to pay their fair share when they are already paying a share so big that the other shares are almost insignificant?
Well, when you look at percentage-wise and based on whether somebody can survive after that, then it makes a big difference, particularly for small business owners. You know, I mean, if small business owners are paying 40% of their wages, but they, you know, made $80,000 that year, that's a huge cut versus a company made $100 billion and paid 40%. I mean, they still have a ridiculous amount of money. And I promise they didn't work, you know, 100 million times harder than a small business owner did. You just can't tell me, I'll just tell you this right now, you can't tell me that somebody in this country is worth billions and billions of dollars and somebody who works full time is not worth enough money to pay for a home for their family.
But the free market.
Okay.
If you're working full time, you
Hang
should
on.
be
Okay,
able.
that argument goes
I never
to
get to finish a sentence.
I was going to
with
say,
you.
hang on.
and doctors
Let's
and-
hang on.
You
Let's
never let me
hang on.
finish a sentence.
Let her finish, and then let's respond, and one at a time.
All I'm saying is, all people should be able, if they work 40 hours a week, they are working full time. They are working hard enough, and they should be able to have a 2-bedroom apartment. They should be able to afford all their food. We shouldn't be paying for their food stamps because they're not getting paid enough at whatever company they work for. I mean, the whole point of minimum wage was called living wage. That's what FDR called it. He called it a living wage, and it should change, and it hasn't. What has changed is how much the top makers are getting. And that's why I brought up the England thing, where as the top makers make more money, percentage-wise, there should be a gap that brings up the lower earners, because everybody in that company is working.
that exists. That exists in
Not
the
in this
normal.
country.
No, that's wrong. In the normal corporate world, which I've worked, that's it. You succeed, you grow within a company. Now, you're talking about the minimum wage. Okay, so you're gonna at minimum wage. We're talking about the French fry guy at McDonald's.
Yeah.
Okay, who wants to succeed to provide for his family? He can get into management. He can get into supervision. He can become a franchise owner.
many jobs
Who's
are
keeping
there?
them down? Who's keeping them down? But there is a certain percentage of this country where they just want to show up, punch the clock, and leave. And it's not up to us
And that's fine if
to
they wanna
boost
do
them
that.
up. It's not
they-
to us to say they should be in a house. And how
But there's
dare they
enough
not?
resources in this country that
To
it's
say-
not going to hurt anybody.
That's
It's not
that's
gonna hurt
socialism.
any-
Yeah,
That's
it doesn't work that
socialism.
way. That is socialism.
No,
So let me ask you a
y'all
question.
are talking about might as right.
No.
That's
Let me ask you.
different-
Let me
we're
ask you a
talking
question.
about ambition.
Let me ask a question.
We're talking about ambition and drive.
Why does somebody
almost
have
like I
to
don't
want
exist.
to? Why does somebody want to have to be so much better? Why can't they just?
Let me ask you a question.
Contribute the minimum and then just live their happy little lives.
Because
What
there
is
were
wrong with
people
that?
who didn't believe in that, and they created Apple, and they created Microsoft, and they put a man on the moon. There were people who didn't have that mindset,
started
and you drive on the freeways that these
They have
engineers
employees.
constructed, and they created companies and jobs and hired people. That's the mindset of people that this country is founded on, not the guy that
Yes.
says, I'm just going to show up and do the minimum amount and earn it,
Absolutely.
and I want somebody who's doing the maximum amount to pay my way.
So
That's
you
it.
think we should never evolve after hundreds of years of learning what's working and what's not, and what makes people poor and rich, and
We
what
have
is
evolved.
equal?
We have evolved.
No, you just said the country was founded on this idea. Why should we change it now? That's that's
ambition?
hundreds of years. I mean, and a lot of those are religious values. They're founded in Puritan values.
What?
It is.
Where is this
So
coming from?
Puritans,
We're talking about ambition.
right? Well, that's an idea from the Puritan religion. Their idea was you work hard, you die, and then you go to heaven and you get rewarded. Not about being rewarded on this earth. That's what this country was founded on. Puritans.
But do your work.
But
your
that's
work
a
is
religious
rewarding.
idea.
The work in itself. is
You go to a
puritanical
different
stance.
country, you go to another country, and a lot of them think, well, yeah, you should work to live, but your life shouldn't be your work. Your life should be your family, or your life should be your social life, or your life should be pursuing higher thinking, or your passions, or love, or, learning new things. It shouldn't always be about clocking in and clocking
like
out.
Nancy Pelosi said, this cutting down of hours gives people time to have their artistic freedom. That's what she said during the Obama administration when companies said, okay, we can't afford health care, so we're cutting hours from 40 to 30, and that's how she sold it as a good idea. Now people have more time on their hands to be more creative and to do things that they enjoy and they're passionate about.
Okay, let me ask a quick question. Let me ask a quick question. We have a bunch of good comments that I want to get to here, and it's great conversations been already shooting along. So, I mean, like time-wise, it's flying by, in other
He
words.
said he was here to practice. This is not...
Right. So
I'm zipping up for the rest
a
of the
question that I have for both you and David on the feed that I've never yet gotten a good response to. All right, like at least that one, and I'm not just saying
It's
that
like
from a
your
judgment.
opinion, man.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I'm just, it is exactly, totally my opinion, and I accept that. But I feel like I try to be pretty fair in saying, hey, that's a good point. Is this? If we're all equal, right? And the very premise of our whole country was that we are all created equal. That's the foundational concept. We are all created equal, and thus by the nature of our creation of equality, we all equally have the right to pursue life, liberty, and happiness, right? Mm-hmm. So that's a foundational thought. If we are all equal, what is a justifiable comment, a justifiable argument, a rebuttal to the idea that in 2007, 2008, I basically lost everything, right? I managed to keep the roof over my head, barely, and my family doesn't even know how close that was, right? And because of my work ethic and personality, somebody gave me a car. It was a 20-year-old Toyota Camry with no AC in Houston. And I used that vehicle to dress like this and drive around town and build a new business. All right? And in that process, I built a business that was a multi-million-dollar business. We employed, at our height, 13 people, all of which who made well over minimum wage and well over the industry standard for their job position. And I made a very healthy six-figure income in doing that. What in my ability and skill to do that justifies the moral argument, the just argument, the logical argument, whatever you want to call it, that I should be penalized at a rate 3 times more than the first person who even pays taxes,
Well,
let alone the 50% who don't pay taxes.
I wouldn't say you're financially in that bracket.
I absolutely was.
I mean,
I'm not right now, but I absolutely was.
But I mean, I do think it should
I
be.
paid 3 times more in taxes than the first person who paid taxes. And I am waiting for the argument that says I was able to pull myself up from almost being homeless, right? I maintained my house, but I lost my car, I lost all my credit, I lost every financial tool I had, savings, everything else, all completely gone. And then from that point, I built a multi-million-dollar business, 13 employees, all making good money, and I made a healthy 6-figure income in which I was at a 29% tax bracket, right? Why should I, because I have the ability to do that, because I have the skill set and the mindset and the drive and the motivation and everything else to do that, why should I be penalized? Because it is absolutely a penalty. It's a slap in the face to me to say, you know what, you've got skill to create 13 jobs, here's your reward. 3 times the tax rate.
You're not being penalized.
It sure as hell is a penalty.
Absolutely.
It is absolutely a penalty.
But you're not talking. I'm talking about multi-billion-dollar corporations.
I'm just talking about me. I'm not even asking about them right now.
But
it's the same.
Let me try to answer that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me try to answer that. So you started by talking about we're all equal, and this is going to veer way off of what we want to talk about, but we want to all be equal, but we do not all have equal opportunity in this country. Let's not pretend that you being a white man who already had contacts and somebody who believed in you enough to give you a car is not the same situation as somebody who was
a Hispanic minority, by the way.
who's been raised in a poverty subsidized lifestyle, and nobody believes in them, and they don't even give enough money to their schools, and they're like, you know what, those people aren't going to succeed. So part of it is the belief in you, as we have always supported. I mean, I'm not trying to say that you didn't work hard and you didn't earn that. But what I'm saying is there are people who also could work equally as hard and would not have been as lucky or fortunate as you.
I agree with you on that. I agree with that because we are products of our environment. Sure. And some people are products of a very poor environment, and they don't have someone who they can look at as a mentor or a teacher who has the resources to go into a community and convince someone that they can be better than what their environment is. And that's one of our problems in our country is that we have a certain element that we have to address. And right now, believe it or not, there's more money going to those communities than there have been in the last 10 years. Even though money's not going to solve the problem, but we have to do something or this country is headed in the wrong direction. Because as much as we can brag about being self-sufficient.
Oh no!
Man down!
I'm sorry.
That just means she doesn't get to drink anymore.
That's how the feed
I can drink out of this.
But you know what? I mean, that you are right.
Yeah,
For me, that is it is an entirely spurious point. It's a great topic of discussion. Whether there's advantage for male, Hispanic, white, black, or otherwise, female, all that stuff. That's a great topic for discussion.
And a lot of that is perception.
Right. I will say I grew up.
Self-esteem.
I grew up.
It's a huge thing.
I grew up in a very lower income, middle America family with an alcoholic, abusive dad, and a mom who was literally a prostitute. Grew up on the streets, married to the mob. All right. So any benefits that came from that environment, I would challenge people to say that they had
so the business contacts that she referenced earlier weren't in your DNA.
Right.
This is crazy.
I created them. So, but anyway, nevertheless, it's a spurious point for me.
Right.
My question still isn't answered.
Your question.
David said the same thing you did. You both said it's not a penalty.
It's not a penalty.
He says, literally, me getting to pay 3 times the taxes as the first person who pays taxes is a huge prize, a huge benefit. Right? I'm sorry, at the point at which 3 times my income is taken from me by force under the threat of prison, it is not a freaking prize.
You went into debt? You owed 3 times the amount you were making?
No.
He risked capital.
Oh, absolutely, I did. I risked a
Other people
lot.
don't
But
risk
anyway.
capital, but they get the benefit of the wages.
No, but I'm saying that 3 times my money, 3 times was taken from me within the first person who pays taxes. There is no justifiable argument in my equality as a human being and as a citizen of the United States. We're equally citizens and we're equal as human beings, that I should be penalized because I have the skill. And yes, it is a penalty. I'm sorry, it's not a huge blessing. It's not a huge benefit.
I didn't call it a blessing or a benefit, but...
He did. I was speaking
right,
to the comment there. That's just, that's lunacy to me.
But when you do start having, thank you, Ashley, so much. I'm so sorry. I broke a glass. I'm pretty embarrassed, everybody.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I have, trust me, I have broken far more.
Okay.
In fact, you're kind of slacking, honestly. It's, I mean,
there's still
when
wine
I do
there.
it, I
could
take
probably
out.
drink it.
When I do it, I take out the carafe or the decanter and at least 3 glasses. So.
But what I was going to say is, when
hand me the box. Ed, hand me the box.
when your company grows, you are using more resources, hands down. I mean, you have more
growth is
people
expensive.
driving.
Growth hurts.
Right, and that's why I had a problem when Texas gave a $19 billion tax
helping
cut to
myself
Apple
first,
their
I think.
very first year just to build a company here in Texas. Like, why? And they literally have $100 billion sitting in the bank they don't know what to do with. Whereas, in the first years of business that small business owners are doing, I don't think you should be taxed that heavily. I think it should be when your income's set. So I tried to start a small business in Albuquerque when I was there, and I didn't do it very well. But I didn't. Anyways, that was my fault. I messed up. But they did give a 5-year plan for to get there, and I think 5 years for a small business owner who has their own company should keep you in the small business tax bracket, unless you make a ludicrous amount of money, and then you should be taxed for the resources, and I think that's the real thing is we have to look at how many resources these companies are using and what is that tax on.
Well,
Hang on, I really have to address a point here. David keeps chiming in on this. David, I'm sorry, I've got to correct you on this. You keep drilling on this point that it's some sort of a benefit that I get to pay these taxes because I live in America and not a third world country. You are entirely missing my question. I have to keep restating this. And I love David. He's been on the show before. Great guy. Which, by the way, David, I don't know if you saw it. I defended you. I called the dude out on insulting you when you were making perfectly fine arguments.
I'd also like to point out my friend Wally is just bashing me.
Thanks for tuning in, Wally, and bashing.
In Windows 98.
Yes, yeah. Here's my point, David. My point, David. I am asking, right? I live in this country that you're saying I have such a great blessing for living in. Fan-freaking-tastic. I agree. So does the person who is not paying equal taxes to me. I have an equal citizenship to them, and I am a human being of equal standing. We're equal. I'm not better, and I am not worse. I've just demonstrated the skill to create a multi-million-dollar business employing a lot of people making above minimum wages, and I am being penalized for being able to do that at 3 times the amount of the first person that pays taxes. So don't give me the line.
What you're saying there?
Okay, we have a progressive tax. So the more you make, the more taxes you pay. So not only am I being taxed inside my business for the business that I do, right? Now, if I have any money left over, now I'm paying
taxed 3 times more than somebody who earns $18,000 a year.
Right, exactly. The first person
and you
who's paying
made
taxes,
$1 million.
I made a healthy amount.
Yeah, that's
He said
totally
6
reasonable.
figures.
I don't think that's not reasonable.
Again, defend that point.
Because
Why?
you're making more than 3 times them.
Wait.
If you're making more than 3 times,
No.
If somebody made $20,000 a year, and you made $200,000, that's 10 times the amount they make, but you only paid 3 times more. Holy shit, you're winning. You are winning that.
How am I winning?
Assuming that the first person only makes $20,000.
Yeah,
How
that's
am
the
I winning?
lowest tax bracket without being in
No,
poverty.
because somebody making $20,000 would pay 0 taxes.
Yeah,
That's not
true.
true.
Yeah.
That's not true.
In income tax, they would not.
I've had a year where that's what it showed. My first year in the Navy, I made less than
You'd be
20.
refunded all of it. You would pay taxes in, but you're going to be refunded all of it.
I mean,
and in fact, not only are you going to be refunded, but you're probably going to get
you wouldn't pay.
right. You would probably get a pretty healthy refund.
You
on top
are
of it.
probably in telling me what I would. I'm telling you what I did, and that's not true.
Did you not file taxes?
I did file taxes.
H&R Block did it, didn't they?
No, I think I might have done it.
Anyway, again, spurious point.
Money back. If I did my tax, I get my money back.
So again, spurious point.
But I worked 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Did you work that much harder than I did?
Hell yeah, I did.
Than me in the Navy? My first year?
Listen. First of all, it doesn't even matter. Again, are we both humans?
But I'm saying...
Wait. Basic questions. We're both humans.
You didn't work that much harder than me.
It doesn't freaking matter.
Yeah, it does.
If I know how to make more money than you, why am I penalized for that?
How much is that worth value in the
Great. I
market?
love that. It's beautiful. Again, it's all of these are spurious
That-
arguments to the question. Nobody's answered the darn question. Are you equal to me? Yes. Are we equal humans? Yes. Are we both citizens? Yes. Why then do we have a different system for how I'm taxed
Because you have more money and you
Because
use
I have more
resources.
capacity to earn.
You know, if you go to...
That's crazy.
If you go to the Star of Hope,
It's ridiculous.
or if you go to...
and Atlas
Joseph
Shrugged.
says you just harassed me.
And Atlas Shrugged, I'm going to say, I don't give a crap, and I'm going to stop, and I'm going to move my money overseas, which is exactly what we have.
Can I say something? If you go to the Star of Hope, or the Wortham Theater, or to Museum of Fine Arts, or to the Health Science Museum, you know what you're going to see? A list of benefactors.
Yep.
And those are corporations. Those are not people. Those are corporations that pay millions of dollars. In fact, the Star of Hope, you know how many fundraisers they have per year at the Star of Hope?
Not when I'm here.
You know how many fundraisers they have? 0. You know why? Because these corporations fund them. Not the city of Houston, but these corporations. So unfortunately, we hear corporation and there's the dim the lights because it's a corporation, they're evil, they make too much money, they don't give all the money away. But when you look at the arts in Houston, or you look at the charities in Houston, or the ones who step up, HEB, for example, during Harvey, I mean, these companies are the first ones out of the gate. So to say you're not paying enough or you're not helping enough, you know, some of them might agree with you. I don't know how many millions I would need to survive. You know, test me. You know, but I think that we put them in a bad light when they do a lot in keeping our city and our country and our communities active and helping people. They buy computers for schools. And Dell donated computers to an elementary school that I went to. These corporations, they don't get the notoriety, but when you talk about the foundations that are given to even to the hospitals, it's in the billions by these corporations. So we need to back up a little bit.
And that's
see,
voluntary.
Yeah, voluntary.
That's right. We're not.
I'm waiting for an answer. The only answer I've gotten
Am I wrong
is
again,
that
David?
because you make more.
Well, when you make more,
So
then
you're making me less
you're paying
equal.
less of a percentage than the person who
No.
makes 20,000.
One thing on the progressive. One
It's
thing
by
on the,
percentage I'm talking about. By percentage, I am paying a hell of a lot more. I know he's giving me a hard time about this. I sexually harassed.
I know. Well, you were
I
saying
think me
that to
too.
Chris last week or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, give him a hard time.
Kept giving me hugs.
Yes, he kept hugging her. Yeah, I mean, it was a little more forward than me. I'm just saying.
It was, but this was aggressive. Like, you stop talking. I'm talking to you.
talking about the progressive tax.
Yes, no, I'm
So-
saying by percentage I'm paying more.
Absolutely.
It's not just dollar amount, it's by percentage. That's what I have a problem with.
And so there's a small agreement I have in there. First of all, you go to Texas offering Apple a tax thing. I totally disagree with that. That's crony
You see what's
capitalism.
going on with Amazon?
And they're
$100
bidding.
million.
So what I would rather Texas do is create the best environment, low tax environment for a company, so that the best place for them to come and do business is Texas. But talking about the progressive tax rate, first of all, if we're going to tax people's income, which I think is immoral to begin with.
Yep, I do too.
So if we are going to tax people's income, what I think we should do is we should figure out whatever the poverty rate is. The amount of money you need to live,
Yes.
right? And we're not going to subsidize people's bad financial choices. There's a certain amount of money that the government, in their infinite wisdom, decides is enough for
Average
a person to
electric
live.
bill,
pay your bills, pay your
average
rent,
rent.
have a place to eat, and have food to eat.
Right.
After that amount should be exempted for all people.
I'm pro that.
For a billionaire and for a poor person, it should be exempted. every single dollar after that should be taxed at the exact same rate.
Exactly.
Because my money and my effort.
You mean percentage?
Same percentage.
Same percentage.
So if I make $1 million, I'm paying $100,000 in tax.
It's a flat tax.
If somebody makes $100,000, they're paying $10,000 in tax.
Taxes on what we spend.
That's fair.
Right, and it does sound fair in effect, but they have done studies with actuaries that show that you're still putting the brunt of the weight on poor people, and I'm not a smart enough actuary to explain the numbers clearly. But I swear there are really smart mathematicians out there who explain how this doesn't work in practice. Just like having a flat tax. Yeah, well, that is a flat tax. That's basically what you're it's not. It ends up that we are covering more. So I think after a certain percentage. Yeah, I mean, after a certain
I would love
income,
to see those arguments.
I would, and I'll send them to you. I'll try to post them to this feed.
And it's fair. It's fair that I totally understand. You don't all have our points. Yeah, we don't have these.
You know, Hurricane Harvey can counter your argument. Because what happened when people were in need? People came forward and helped. It had the government orchestrated this.
3P.
It wouldn't
3P.
have, what's that?
3P off-road came to help.
It wouldn't have been as effective than us helping
Fucking
each
smack
other.
you in the comment feed.
P3.
Hey, he's the only guest I have that will actually, like, play dual parts here. He'll be in the show, but he'll also comment on the comment feed during the show. So he said, hashtag regarding Rachel's comment, hashtag fake news. So, look, I mean, we're this is a tough topic. Let's see if we can find some areas of agreement here. All right, let's see if we can find some areas of agreement.
It's hot in here.
I am passionately, he touched on a point. For me, it is immoral to, one, have a progressive tax where the first guy pays 10%, the last guy pays 40%. That's immoral to me.
It is immoral that anyone in this country is hungry or unhoused because we have the resources. They literally exist in this country. We throw away food. They poison it in trash cans. Houston has had a war on the homeless. I mean, they even changed the definition of what homeless is under Trump.
Did that.
No, Trump. I'm telling you because
here in Houston, though.
Mayor Parker made it illegal.
All of the mayors in Houston. I did a whole report on it when I went to U of H.
Because they're all Democrats.
Well, it's so strange. I don't understand having this war on the homeless. It really makes no sense. But for me, morally speaking, there's always going to be a percentage of the population who needs help. You're going to have to help some people. They just need it, and I'm sorry.
Mentally,
there are people who have disabilities and need help. So let's not.
The government.
We as their neighbors should, and I think local government should be able to manage that better. I think yes, we need the government to do that, and that's what taxes are for. But do I think that the federal government needs to have their hands in my local city where we need to make sure that everyone's taken care of? No. I'm not for this big government idea of controlling that. But morally speaking, there is absolutely no reason that every person in this country can't even be in a tiny home at the very least and can have food. I mean, we just shouldn't have people die. And it costs more money not to house them because we have to treat them when they go to the hospital. And they cost $17,000 plus by going to the hospital due to exposure, and it's cheaper to just house them and feed them 3 meals a day. It is. So get rid of those people. Then you have people who are working for their. That's not. That was such fake news in the 90s. Maybe. They were cheaper by the dozen in the 20s. But then you look at poor people, and they're poor because we're just not paying them enough. Give them enough money, wage-wise. If you work 40 hours a week, you can afford to live. Period, in this country, and then after that we can deal with taxes. But until we get that taken care of, until we can just agree not to let people die in this country from starvation, and we're supposed to be the richest nation in the world.
People don't die.
Let me ask you a question.
It's ridiculous.
Let me ask you a question. All right, there are my church even. I mean, down there are so many charitable organizations that somebody can get food from. Nobody in this country would go hungry or shelterless if they really didn't want to.
It's
Right.
actually really
Most
hard, and they
people-
have time limits on how long you can stay there. Most of them are 1 month.
A lot of
Untrue.
homeless.
The Star of Hope puts you through a training program.
That's one
And then-
charity.
Right.
I've researched this very recently.
Okay, there's a lot of the homeless, a lot of people on the street have drug or mental health issues.
Yes.
Right. That's to me is an undeniable fact. I've
Yeah.
also done a lot of research.
And
on that,
part
right?
of the way to help that
So-
is improving their social situation.
So I think there's a worthwhile conversation to have. How do we, fix
That's a
the
good comment,
the
Joseph
drug and
Moncada.
mental health issue? But for me, at the end of the day, there's no limit to where the line is in how much do I fork out.
Right.
It never stops.
Right. Well, and I think one of the biggest problems is our big government is just.
Yeah, her
pocketing
hair
a
is
lot of
blue,
money.
Joseph. Her
Yes,
hair is
that's
blue.
It's blue.
He's tuned into the very important issues. of
The
this
important
show.
issues is this week I'm blue. Last time I was pink. But
She's snazzy like that.
I bring the color.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah,
Finish your
but,
thought.
But what I was gonna, I think yes, we can have these conversations, but when we're leaving just people without enough money to get by, and then we blame them for being poor.
We are leaving them.
No, but this tax bill. That's what I feel like this tax bill is doing.
You can't apply
It's
logic.
helping.
don't do
This
that.
tax bill is only helping the uber wealthy.
So all
That's
that money
so
should go
not
towards
true.
the poor. all that
Back
money,
to the OP.
All that money should go towards the poor.
I mean,
then
I'm
we
not
can watch
super
them
poor, and
fight.
I'm
not
excited about the
saying
tax
it should
bill.
go
So how
more.
can that
I'm
be?
There's
saying-
literally, I have.
I'm saying we're concentrating
Corporate
kind of in-
donations will increase because they are keeping more of their money. Corporations
They'll be
need
able to do
write-offs. That's another
Exactly.
benefit. Is it's a write-off for them.
Literally, I've looked
you know,
at
there's an-
so many. There 137 economists from
greedy
left-leaning,
buggers, Wally.
right-leaning, 137 economists said this tax bill's a great thing. They all signed off on it.
Really? 'Cause-
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Rachel
and wait,
Maddow said it wasn't.
Yeah, the exact
I like
opposite.
that fella.
137 economists. All right,
Come
so
on now.
and hang on.
Crazy.
I have seen left-leaning tax organizations, right-leaning tax organizations. I've looked, thanks to folks like David on my feed here today, I've spent so much time researching, the opinions and what the average American is going to get. 95% of American tax-paying citizens will receive a break.
They're getting
There's
their
a-
own money back.
A very specific group of Americans, and they're the wealthy. It's the
But
wealthy,
I would rather
5%.
continue paying that $50 in taxes and knowing that my neighbors don't have idiot kids.
No, you
and
don't
knowing
realize-
that
Trust
we're
me,
not
your
gonna
neighbors are going to have
giant
idiot kids
potholes.
regardless
but
of what
it's the
you do.
government taking that money
Especially
and
if they're going
deciding
to
where
public
it should
school
go.
system.
Right.
It's not,
Right.
Right.
The problem is
Let's defund that.
hashtag cancel Congress. Vote them out. Let's get new people in
All
who are going to
for
put the
that.
money where we want it. Because we had a giant hole in our freeway over an overpass. I mean, why the money's not going to infrastructure? They've taken all this extra money away that's supposed to go to all of us and all of our resources.
There was how many trillion did we had a tax increase for? How many trillions added to our deficit for infrastructure, and we saw
It
nothing.
never
4 trillion.
happened.
We saw
Oh,
nothing.
You
Never
gotta report to
Please
this check.
help me, Jesus. Let me get this
You gotta report
comment
to
in.
those checks.
Let me ask you a question.
A bunch of
If
crap.
everybody in the room is acknowledging this,
All of America wants infrastructure.
right? If we're all acknowledging, right? There's a big hole in the freeway. Didn't get
Finish
fixed.
290.
$4 trillion allotted for it. Didn't get done.
But
right?
19 billion went to Apple just to make up.
But let me ask the question.
Sorry.
Why do we want more government if they can't do what we're already
That's
asking them to
exactly
do?
what I was going to say.
Oh my God!
It's not that I want more.
Fire them all!
It's the $3 million bathroom.
Private, yes!
I think
Private
this is a very,
sector everything.
I think
Oh
this
my
is a very
God.
Texan
Competition is a good
argument here is that we just want less federal regulation on these things, but I
Holy
would,
crap.
If,
I
if
want
the
less
federal
municipal
government,
utility district taxes in my
if
life.
the federal
Everything.
government
Every
wasn't
level.
so involved in some of these things, then we could concentrate more on what our state governments are doing. You know, like the Kids for Cash program and stuff. Like
You can
we could have
still
stopped
sell
that.
kids.
You did you hear about that program? Tell you about it afterwards.
Post my phone number. I got a bunch of kids. Bunch.
They put him in
I got
jail.
one that's turned 18. Does that count?
They send him
but
to jail.
he can mow. He'll cost more.
They send
He'll
him
be
to
She
jail.
hates. She said she hates
a
down.
higher bracket.
Dang it!
Because he can mow.
But what I'm saying is we do need to have more oversight on our local governments. But the federal government is such a clown show right now, and they're not
just
working.
right now.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Swamp
okay.
is being drained.
But they're not. Yeah, they're not working in our interests. They haven't been, and
But what you point out is the major fundamental flaw of government,
I don't-
and that is inefficiency and red tape and bureaucracy. So when you take a lot of money and you throw it up to the federal government, they eat it up in paying people that are doing nothing and all this.
Those
And by the time they have a
top
little bit of
earning-
money left, they throw it out. When the best thing you could do is keep that money in people's pockets and let them spend it locally to develop their own infrastructure. What a novel idea.
Nancy Pelosi's-
And then it would be more efficient because I can control the contractor that's cheating me out of money. I can't control the federal Washington
Nancy
contractor.
Pelosi makes $200,000 a year, and her net worth is now $83 million. How did that happen? And you can say that with
Lobbyists.
everybody in Congress and everybody in the Senate.
Sure.
I want to bring up what David Craig just said because this is something I very much agree with. The largest discretionary spending by the government is military. And as a former military member, I got out in 2012. I will tell you, the money is not going to veterans. You know, we're always talking about, oh, we should reduce the pay. They tried to freeze
There's
our pay
some
while I was in.
agreement.
Ted Cruz
Absolutely.
wanted to
Not
freeze
taking
our
care of
pay, and
our
we're like, we
veterans.
fucking dare you to freeze our pay. Sorry, I dropped the F-bomb.
Hand me the sign over there.
We dare you to freeze our pay while we're in.
Well, that was because there was something attached to that
Whatever.
bill that was...
This F-bomb brought to you by Rachel Blomstrom.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm talking about the Navy. It's really hard to wash that language out.
So look,
Sailors.
this is where we will have agreement.
Right, but what I want to say is, so he brought up the military, and a lot of people are always like, oh, maybe we're paying the military. They're less than 1% of the population.
What?
Veterans aren't getting the money, and all the money is going to their corporate buddies, and we can't, like, I couldn't go to Home Depot and buy a hammer for $10. I had to order it from, you know, Lockheed Martin for $60. And that is a huge problem, particularly when 60% plus of our economy is always going to them. And nobody ever wants to talk about it. The nuke program, way overspending. I mean, really the biggest problem is, you know, we're talking about scraps that are getting thrown to us. But it's the big bones that are going to the military, not the Navy specifically. We ran out of paper on deployment one time. We had to like peel off those dots just so we could print paper. Just print.
Okay, so look,
words.
on that point, David, I'm not a Republican, so your statement will
I get a free
still...
language pass.
You're
I'm a Republican. Unfortunately, elected Republicans aren't Republicans.
No, they're not.
Oh, wow, that's a great point.
And Tea Parties aren't libertarians.
No, I'm a Tea
I don't
Party.
think
I'm
they're
not a
patriots.
libertarian.
I don't think they ever
billed
claimed to
as,
be libertarians.
They're nationalists.
I use the phrase that I've gotten from my buddy David Pipkin, who's regularly on the show. I am a constitutionist. That's it.
Constitutionalist,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm a lover.
Do you have a good constitution?
I love everybody, even
That's-
when
Of
you're
course.
totally misguided.
Now, welcome to the artist edition of the show.
Oh yeah, I'm also an artist, and a musician, and blue hair. And I break glasses when I get really angry.
Yeah, she turned Greek for a minute. So. We also yelled Opa when you broke that one. That was we faux pas on that one. Yeah. Okay, so I will say that David, I don't call myself a Republican anymore. I call myself a constitutionist, along with my fellow guest who's regularly on, David Pipkin, and I voted for the Constitutionist Party, which most people don't even know, but because
Party?
Constitutionist Party. Because every platform that they have, they quote the Constitution as their foundation for their platform point. So I'm a big fan, right? And people say lovely things like you're throwing your vote away. And for me, voting for any party that does not fully represent your views or beliefs is throwing away your vote. And we didn't always have the Republican and Democrat Party. At one point, they didn't exist.
Bring back the Whigs.
Different parties come about when the party
Bull Moose Party.
when the party fails to represent the populace, then it's time for a new party. That's my position. And the Republican Party demonstrates over and over and over and over and over and over again that they're not Republicans. They're just a freaking other shade of the Democratic Party.
Christy wants to know if you see the Constitution as a living document.
No.
That's a whole different conversation.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to do another show.
Is it a living document? Yes. Is it a living document in the sense that you mean it to be? I cannot say that that's probably the case. I don't
This is
know.
my party. I just made it up.
The interpretation of the
me.
Constitution is not fluid.
Yes, correct. Let me put it this way.
The ability to amend and change
Correct.
based on modern needs and necessities makes it a living document.
Correct. It's not a living document to be decided by the judges on federal
You're gonna have to
seats.
ignore this one.
That's not the way it goes.
Robert Curry?
Anyway,
I don't rewatch them.
I kind of honestly just lost my train of thought with the whole...
You were going to say, you were on to rating the wine, actually. According to my bladder.
We're wrapping up the show.
Wait, did we
We're going to rate
solve
the
anything?
wine. We didn't solve anything. But,
Oh!
but the point of the show is not to solve anything. The point of the show is to teach America how to disagree civilly. Right?
Right,
good. We
you
did
grab
good.
your neighbor by the shoulder
Yes.
and you point and shake
We,
them.
Yes.
we drop a couple
Occasionally you
F-bombs,
grope them.
We break a wine glass.
You
But
toss a wine glass on
Throw
the ground.
things down violently.
Drop the F-bomb.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
only if you're a sailor.
Yes.
Only if you're
But look at this party right here. Look at the group. We're laughing. We're having a good time. We're enjoying each other's
We're
company.
super flush.
Right? Yeah. We're super flush.
Some are drunk.
Some of us are drunk.
Not me.
No.
Not naming names.
Yeah, we're not naming names. We're not dropping any names. The whole point of the show is not to find a solution as much as it is to teach America that it's okay to disagree, to have differing points of view. You're not going to grow a disagree tumor and die. I promise. It's okay. We can talk about the important things. We can talk about sensitive subjects. And we can have different points of view, and it's perfectly okay. That's the point of the
This is
show.
lunacy.
I know. I know.
And also, like, I don't think in conversation when you have these, you're changing people's opinions. I think it's when you go home and you really think about what was said, and I think that's really important to know when to end the conversation.
It takes a big person, it really does, to change a viewpoint.
Right.
Most people seek confirmation bias. Most people believe what they believe, and they will seek out evidence that supports what they believe,
Right.
rather than considering and weighing the opposing view. I think a really great practice, and it's part of this show, is hearing out the other viewpoint enough that you are able to not only understand that other person's view, but to make their argument. Like, I understand your viewpoint enough to make your argument, right? Whether I agree or not, right? That's the goal, right? So that's empathetic listening. That's what it means to actually hear the other person, not just listen long enough so that you are waiting to respond, right? Because that's most people's fault is that most people's fault is that we aren't actually listening to the person. We're just listening to respond,
Yeah.
right? So that's where we're at. You just highlighted address comments. I can't address comments. We're already over.
So we're rating the Pinot.
We're rating the Pinot, which I've already forgotten about at this point.
Well, I'm gonna rate.
I don't even know now.
I'm
at
gonna
this
rate
point.
it 4 based on how fast I drank it.
That's excellent.
It went down in a level 4 out of 5. So that's
This is a verifiable.
I need probably 2 or 3 more bottles
And
of
then I
the
broke a
Pinot
glass.
before I can actually give a rating. Because I just keep slamming and I don't really
it went
notice.
down really well.
I'm like,
It went
crap,
down
I
4
drank.
times faster
It's
than
hot
a red
enough
wine
for you.
would.
I'm like, I drank 2 bottles of that. I don't remember.
The
It
Grigio
blends well with seafood, disagreements, and a salad.
and hot.
It pairs well with government spending.
And dissension. Yeah, dissension.
It pairs
Distaste.
well with.
Or distaste.
I'm finding the Pinot pairs well with the opinion of a progressive tax.
Budgetary indiscretion.
Oh, you know what? We need a whole other show to address, because I do remember the commonality where we would find some agreement.
Yeah.
To David's point, he said, I've never heard a Republican that would say that, that we need to cut military spending.
We do. I'm a Republican. We need to cut military.
I agree.
Nobody's fist bumped me.
Yay! Fist bump.
you had a friend.
Yes, yes. I
I
agree.
just lost some street cred for sure.
Right, right.
Hey, I'm a military member.
Okay.
Are you kidding? I'm
We're
freaking
good. We're
badass.
good.
How long did you
I worked
serve?
at 5 years and I was in a weapons department on 2 different destroyers.
Just don't throw a wine glass at me.
Yeah, like she did earlier. Yeah, yeah.
I do flip a lot of improv tables.
Look,
Oh, I don't need to break another glass. I have mine.
we'll cut your throat
I
with
will
this.
cut
Yeah.
I won't cut you.
She's gonna go Bon
I'm an
Quiqui.
actor.
She's gonna go Bon Quiqui all over you, man.
Careful, you are on video.
Oh yeah, I'm
Yeah.
an actor. I seem a lot more serious than I am. I do act.
We're good.
This
All
kid,
of
he
the
wasn't scared.
all of
Nobody
the
said he was
opinions
scared
of
me.
violence and or threats towards other human beings is purely subjective
Fictional.
humor, fictional, and not based on any
Yeah.
actual character in reality.
Yeah, no.
It doesn't express the views of the show.
All the content's expressed.
I
Yeah.
do improv. I'm sorry. Sometimes my humor's in extremely bad taste.
Okay, so we're rating the Pinot.
We're rating the
Grigio,
Pinot. We're rating the
Noir.
Pinot.
Which
We're rating the
We got two
Pinot
Pinots.
Grigio.
The Grigio.
Pinot
Okay,
Grigio.
Grigio.
The
Yeah.
nice one. We started.
Yes, the views of the
Okay.
guests are not the views of the show.
I'm sorry. That was aggressive.
I think to properly review it, we have to do something you've never done, and that is reveal the price. Because if we're talking about a $20 wine or a $15 wine, this is a little bit on the 2 side. If we're talking about a $10 to $12 Pinot Grigio, if this is better than Santa Margarita, which comes in at 15, then it's a 4-star, or 4 apples.
These are plums.
4 grapes.
These are legitimately our
But
plums, just so you
I
know.
typically don't like Pinot Grigio, but that was very pleasant.
Yeah, agreed. That's why I
It
gave
doesn't
it.
have the bite that a Santa Margarita, which is like
Yeah, it wasn't
like
sour at
the
all.
Gallo of Italian wines, but it was very good. So
Yeah.
I give it a 4 based on it being under $12.
Yeah, I give it a 4 because I generally don't like them, which is why I chugged them. But I did like it and still chugged it. It wasn't sour, so I was happy.
I have to, Joe Mikado, who's chiming in, and he's kind of like you, Ed. He loves to stir the pot and just give me a hard time the whole time. But we had a
Joe.
wine, right? We had a Pinot on the show, Orgoglio, and it was an Italian wine, and it was freaking amazing. And he says the same thing. He's been biased ever since, and I'm with him on that. It was so good. I'm like, well, if that's in the range. For me, I don't care about prices. I'm like, it's just how good is it, all right? And
So it's expensive.
it's a valid argument though. It's a valid argument.
Well, with
no,
these
actually, they're the
tax
same price range.
cuts,
They're
I
the same
think we
price
should
range.
stick to
Value,
the $12
right?
price
Value.
range.
But I'm just like
I'll
I
have
just
more
go
money
with
for this
enjoyability
wine.
with it. But the Orgoglio was so freaking good that it's really hard for me to give Pinots a fair shot on that standpoint. I give this one a 4.25. It was very solid. I agree with the assessment so far. It all that's the trouble with Pinots. They go down so easy.
Yeah.
Like I didn't even really notice. I drank my
wrong
2
with that.
glasses.
If you like
yeah.
We
Guinness,
like
you
things
probably
that
would
go
like
down.
Pinot
I do.
Grigio.
It was solid. It was a solid hot weather
So
sitting
what
out on
did
the
you give
patio
it?
one 4.25.
4.25. That's not even. It's not even an option you gave us.
You can do that. You can rate it.
I give the Pinot Grigio.
No, you can
a
rate it whatever
3,
you want.
but only because I like my Pinot Grigios more peary, like say maybe a Spruce Goose,
Like
$20
Steve
bottle,
Perry.
Oregon. Yeah, exactly, Steve Perry.
He likes his Pinot a little more Steve Perry.
Yeah, a little more Steve Perry than like I don't know.
A little less Sammy Hagar.
Smith, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I was about to
Yeah,
start
3.
singing Aerosmith.
This is
and I'm
a
like, maybe don't
3.
do that.
I thought it was very good, highly drinkable. I just like mine a little more
Fair enough.
pear, right? I like
Yeah.
pear in mine.
That's cool.
All right. Well, I rate the company. Oh wait, not the company. Sorry. The wine. The wine is what we're rating. So
Oh, he meant this company, not the company of the wine.
No, I'm just.
He meant
you
the
know.
production of this whole
Yeah.
thing,
Oh.
having been interrupted.
So
Yeah.
a repeat theme with me is that I'm not a wine drinker, right? And it was to the point where every time that I drank wine, it sat really hard on my stomach and made my stomach upset. But this show is probably going to turn me into a wine alcoholic. I've really enjoyed. I've really enjoyed
When you get,
all
when you
of the
get good
wines.
wines, dude, when you get good wines,
I've
it
really
makes a big
enjoyed
difference.
all the wines on the show that I've had so far. I'm going to try to out-fancy myself and say, this one had a great body, and, I had some earthy tones to it.
No terroir.
It
No
was
terroir in
breathed
here.
perfectly. So, all those good things. It tasted well. That's what I go by right now until I become more
Tastes
wine.
great, less filling. That
Exactly.
works too.
Right,
So
yeah.
I'm going to give this
Miller
wine
Lite.
very good 4 grapes or apples or plums. Or
Legitimately, these are
whatever.
plums, just so everybody knows. It was the most grape-looking thing that I could find that was large, but, anyway.
I enjoyed it.
All right, fantastic.
Yeah,
All
it was
right,
good.
guys,
It was
we're going to
good.
cue the music and wrap up another
Oh,
show.
thank God.
First of all, I just want to say there was tons of comments, tons of great comments flying by. No way we could get to them all, which just means I have a buttload of work to do tomorrow because I go back and respond to all these comments. I thank you guys for tuning in, chiming in. David, who I have given the most grief in the comment feed, love that guy, super awesome, great comments, great intellect, good guy. Don't think I'm bashing on him or whatever else. I love the input, David. I appreciate you. Appreciate you tuning in. Robert, Christy, so many people. Wally, yes, Wally.
Good Will Hunting, great movie, Robert.
So many people chiming in with great thoughts. I super appreciate you guys. I'm sorry I didn't get to more of your
really?
comments on the show this
Make them
time.
watch.
It's been awesome. Crystal, thanks for tuning in. Anyway, we will be back next Thursday at 7 p.m. with the artist edition of our show. Make sure to like and follow the Wine No Wine Show on Instagram. Just search for Wine No Wine. You'll find us. And make sure you search for us on YouTube, Wine No Wine. On YouTube, we put the original songs from the artist edition show.
I tune out way
It's the
before that.
only place it exists is on YouTube. And on Instagram, we put the wine show rating and the discussion about the wine on Instagram. That's the only place that exists. So make sure you hop on both of those. Tune in next week, Thursday, 7 o'clock, Friday, 5 o'clock here. We'll see you again next week. You can now hit the button and make us go